Hey guys, it's Connor Cordell for MMAReligion.com here today with Coach Freed, the brand new striking coach that Grudge Training Center has brought in to just expand the wealth of knowledge that's already here. So thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, sir.
So Freed, how did you end up here at Grudge in the first place?
It's funny that you asked that. I trained Berno Phillips for a little while.
Oh, did you?
Yes. Trevor trained him previously. Trevor and I always talked about boxing when we met each other. And he asked me one time before, if you don't mind coming down and help my guys out, it'd be a blessing. I came down here once or twice, but I didn't stay. I was training a heavyweight professional, Darrell Williamson, and he fought a couple of times, and Berno would come back and forth to the gyms, and Berno asked me to train him, and I trained Berno up until the day he retired. And I seen Nate and Brennan over at Touch 'em Up Boxing Gym, which is closed down now. I seen him over there, and bam, they started working out. They were talking about boxing. I said, I'm gonna go over there. I called Trevor. Trevor told me to come over, and I'm not leaving ever.
That's awesome. So you come from the boxing world. How different is it from training boxers to mixed martial artists?
There's really no difference. I teach boxing. That's it. So I don't know nothing about the ground game, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, but I just, every sport is alike. Like playing golf, football, you got to turn your foot. Your back foot, you got to turn your foot. You got to keep your feet close or a comfortable distance apart. You have to move your feet, and there's really no difference, none at all.
I'm coming down.
So, as far as your take on the striking game, do you think that just straight up boxing? I mean, everybody's talking about like Muay Thai and different sorts of. But do you think boxing is underutilized in MMA?
I think that MMA is a ground game sport. Every fight, this is ultimate fighting or mixed martial arts, but all fights end up on the ground. No matter if you're in the street, in a bar, in MMA, you're going to end up on the ground. So you have to learn how to protect yourself on the ground. But the thing is, what I'm trying to teach the guys is not to get on the ground when you don't have to.
Right, so it's more or less like just basically it's inevitable, but when you're on the feet, you better be winning, right?
You're right. When you're on your feet, you should be comfortable on your feet. You don't want to be like a jiu-jitsu guy is comfortable on his back. He's happy on his back. He can stay on his back all day long. But once he gets up off his feet, he's nervous and his heart rate is going up. And that's where I come in, teach him how to be relaxed on his feet, controlled before he gets on the ground.
Wow. How did you get into boxing in the first place?
Playing basketball. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Played Philadelphia all my life, but playing basketball, you get into the most street fights ever playing basketball. It's a contact sport. It's the hardest contact sport you can see because you don't know you're gonna get hit or you're gonna get elbowed or you're gonna get your tooth knocked out or something like that. And we used to have like little street fights, and the older guys would bring boxing gloves to outside. So if you and another guy was elbowing each other and about to fight, instead of having a fist fight, they would put gloves on you and let you box. And then I started I took up boxing in Philadelphia. I was like 16 years old when I took up boxing.
So after you beat the other team at basketball, they were all ticked off. Then you could beat
They want to
them
start
again.
fights, yeah. That was crazy.
Man. All right. So as far as the newest big name boxer James Toney coming into the UFC, he just kind of fell victim to the jiu-jitsu game in this last fight. What do you think is really important for somebody who is that well established in boxing with such great power and such great footwork? What is the first thing to take their style and adapt it to MMA, do you think?
There's no adaptation. If you're going to study this, I mean, as I work with you guys all the time, I'm learning more about the jiu-jitsu, the Muay Thai, the wrestling, and this is not just a street fight or a street brawl. I mean, this is very technical sport, so you have to learn your craft. And I don't think that a boxer is ever going to beat a mixed martial arts guys in MMA or UFC. Now he can kick his butt all day long in a boxing match, but as far as fighting, it's a whole different story.
Do you think that's because boxing has been around so long that people in the boxing game have this? I mean, for boxing, they're extremely well versed. I mean, they bob and weave and they move brilliantly. Do you think that, unfortunately, that kind of plays against them in MMA because you can't maybe bob and weave out of the way of a kick or a wrestling shot or something like that?
Well, I think a couple things is boxing. I mean, if you've been boxing all your life, you're adjusting to one thing. That's your hands. no even feet. I mean, you move your feet, but you're just your hands. In MMA, you got to worry about the elbows, the knees, the shoulders, everything. So, I mean, it's just a total disadvantage. I don't think a boxer could come in fresh off of a boxing match and just say, oh, I'll kick a mixed martial arts guys. But that's not going to happen. 10 out of 10 times, he's going to get smashed.
That's crazy. Thanks a lot, Coach.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Look forward to working with you. I'm Connor. Keep the faith.